This episode of Ghoulish is sponsored by the rats living inside of your flesh, waiting for you to let down your guard so they can chew themselves out of your flesh like those two guys in Shawshank Redemption. Only one of those rats will not make it. It will instead hang itself, and right upon your bones, Brooks was healed. Hello and welcome to Ghoulish! I am Max Booth, a host, and if you're listening to this show, it is too late. I've already gotten your download, and there's nothing you can do about it. You can't refund a download. You can't refund a podcast unless you pay for it and then say, hey, I would like a refund, and maybe the podcast will say, okay, you can have a refund. However, in the case of Ghoulish, it's free. You don't have to pay anything to listen to this. So, I mean, it's too late now. I got you now. This is a podcast will I, Max Booth, a host, I talk to various folks in the horror genre about topics somehow related to spookiness. Sometimes we stretch that topic if we have something particularly interesting or exciting to talk about. In the case of today's episode, we're talking about Amelia Earhart conspiracy theories, and my guest is Jessica Leonard. Now, Jessica Leonard is a really talented writer. She recently wrote a novel called Antioch, and I released that book through my own small press, Perpetual Motion Machine. Antioch is a fucking mind-blowing debut novel about a small-town serial killer. And the reason we are talking about Amelia Earhart conspiracy theories is the protagonist of Antioch is a little obsessed with tracking down what actually happened to this pilot. How does that have to do with a small town serial killer? I don't know. I guess you just have to read the book, huh? You just gotta read the book. This episode is sponsored by Reading Books. Enter discount code I read books upon your local, I don't know, bookstore, library. This is a fake discount code. No discount code exists as far as I know. Maybe it works on some website. I'm not privy to that information. But yeah, Antioch is a fucking great book. Jessica Leonard is a great writer and a great podcast guest. This was a fun conversation, and I think you will enjoy it. For those who are going into this topic kind of blind and you don't know who Amelia Earhart is, just the quick notes that you should probably know is I'm just going to kind of gleam off the Wikipedia page because Wikipedia never lies, right? So she was the first woman pilot to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean. That's pretty cool, huh? Have you flown solo across the Atlantic Ocean, listener? I doubt it, unless you happen to be a pilot listening to this podcast. Now, do pilots listen to podcasts? Are they allowed to? Is a pilot listening to this podcast as they fly a plane right now? If so, crash it. Just do it. Crash it into the ocean. Fuck it. It'll be funny. Just do it. No, don't do that. My lawyer has advised me time and time again not to encourage death on this podcast. So don't do that. Don't do the thing I just said. Instead, just fly safely across the Atlantic Ocean, like Amelia did. But she didn't have such luck trying to fly across the Pacific Ocean, which is, according to my notes, a different ocean from the Atlantic. So there's at least two oceans that I know about, the Pacific and the Atlantic. She was able to fly solo across the Atlantic, but with the Pacific Ocean, she battled some issues, and no one has seen her since. This was like 90 years ago or something. I can't do math. Almost a century ago. I don't know. 1937. How long ago was that? I don't know. Nobody could figure that out. That's impossible math for people like fucking Paul Tremblay. But Paul Tremblay isn't on this podcast. Well, he was on the podcast at one point. Go back and look up the episode about rabies. That's when I talked to Paul Tremblay about math and also rabies. But this is an episode about Amelia Earhart. And yeah, so she tried to fly across the Pacific, and it didn't happen. Well, maybe she did. No one knows. Nobody knows what happened. There's some ideas about maybe what happened, and some interesting conspiracy theories involved, and the fate of this pilot, and that is what we're getting into on today's episode with Jessica Leonard, author of Antioch, a book you should buy. I mean, honestly, listen, would I lie to you? Yes, if you buy it, I do profit from some of the royalties. But don't let that dismay you, okay? Dissuade you? I don't know. I don't know rules. I only edit them, okay? Antioch. It's a good book. I thought it was great. I put it out because I loved it. I think you would love it too. It's an interesting novel. Hey, fuck! Speaking of Paul Tremblay, he read an advanced reading copy of this book. He even gave it, a lot of praise that we were able to use on the front cover. So see, I may sometimes seem like I don't know what I'm talking about and I'm going in different directions, but it all comes back around, much like a circle, which is how some folks would describe time. They would also use a circle to describe the shape of a donut. They would also use a circle to describe the shape of a plane. If you didn't know what planes looked like, you could say, oh yeah, I love a good silky little plane. And they could say, you've never seen a plane, have you? And you could say, I gotta go to the bathroom. That's because that's a great way to get out of any conversation. You just say, I gotta go to the bathroom. Anyway, I do have to go to the bathroom, so I'm going to end this intro so we can get on with my conversation with Jessica Leonard about Amelia Earhart conspiracy theories. Let's go do it. Let's listen to it. Let's listen to it. I was just reading up on some Amelia Earhart conspiracy theories. Not as many as I thought I would find, so I'm hoping you know some.
Oh, shit. No, I was just saying, I was like, I don't know anything about any of this. I have a few things that I know about, for sure.
Okay, yeah, we could just make stuff up. I don't know, maybe she was with the Nazis.
I was gonna say, it would be, we could make up our own, and become, cult stuff.
Okay, cool. I mean, I'm okay with that. I mean, no one's gonna look it up to see if we'll being honest. And also, I mean, all conspiracy theories, I mean, they have to come from someplace.
Exactly. And if they do look it up and they don't find it, then we'll be like, oh shit, they took it down.
they discovered something a little bit too true, and now the deep state is trying to cover it up.
The man got to him.
I hate the man.
I know.
I mean, are we talking about Michael Mann?
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, wait.
I mean, he made some good movies like Thief, but after that, I don't know. Yeah, he should have just stopped at one and done. But no, I guess the same thing could be said about Amelia Earhart. I mean, she should have just been satisfied with what, doing the Atlantic? But no, she had to do the whole globe.
She had to do the world. What a loser.
I mean, if we take anything from this podcast, which is recording now, we can just say, yeah, Amelia Earhart was the biggest loser in history.
Pretty much she was, yeah. She had a big dream, was not able to follow through, and now nobody knows what happened to her. What a loser.
What a piece of shit.
Yeah, how dare she? That's what happens when women start wearing pants.
Do pilots real pants? I guess they do. I don't know. I don't know anything about pilot uniforms.
Pilots do wear pants, yes.
Oh, but like, why though?
But why? It could be shorts. They'd have more range of motion.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like they're standing up till someone can see them. They're sitting down, and like waist down is completely blocked by like plane stuff.
I like that we're looking at it as if we're observing them through the cockpit window at all times. This is a television screen. We're looking straight at them.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be in the plane with them. I would just be watching on TV.
Yeah, like you do. A normal way to view a pilot.
A pilot of a pilot.
Is
That's something. Yeah. Every episode is a different possibility of what happened to Amelia.
Oh my goodness.
That would be good.
It wouldn't be bad, actually. Oh my gosh, if we could. Okay, so now we're pitching it. It's a WandaVision type show. All about Amelia Earhart. Every episode is a different possibility of what happened to Amelia Earhart.
I kind of like that. Also, I have to admit, all day long I've been shouting like Amelia because I had the names confused in my head. I don't know if you've seen this movie called Night at the Roxbury, but there's a scene where the two brothers were talking about some incident where they met Emilio Estevez, and they always go Emilio, and I was thinking it was the same name up until like 5 minutes ago.
I've never seen that movie. I watched Saturday Night Live, so I knew this shit, but I never did the movie.
You don't need to. It's okay.
I mean, yeah, I figured it wasn't like, oh, this is the one that I'm missing. Everyone should see The Godfather and Night at the Roxbury.
Those are the two classic examples of perfect cinema.
I mean, what more do you need? After you've seen those, you've pretty much seen them all.
So, do we need to address the elephant in the room of history with podcasts?
My history with podcasts or our history with podcasts?
The fact that you once invited me on a podcast, and I was like, nah, I don't do podcasts.
Yeah. Yes, we should. Because it broke my heart.
Do you know when that was?
Oh, it was a really long time ago. Maybe... Oh, shit. I can't even tell you how many years ago it was now that we were doing those.
Yeah, it was the podcast called Books and Booze. What happened with that?
Books and Booze. So myself and Renee pick up. And I guess, what was his name? Dakota. I'm blanking on his last name, and that does not bode well for anything that's about to happen. But anyway.
I want to say Fanning, but that can't be right.
His last name's Taylor, which was actually my last name at the time, too. So the fact that I just forgot it is really bad. Okay, so anyway, there's three of us. I think Renee and Dakota decided first, like, let's do a podcast. And I was like, I would like to also be on this bandwagon. And so whatever, we started a podcast. We interviewed authors and, people author adjacent, I guess. It was a good time. Dakota left very early on, so then it was just me and Renee for most of the run. And my job was getting guests. I booked the guests for us for the most part, and I asked you to do it, and you were like, nah, I don't do that. And I was like, oh, well, okay then. And then later you're like, man, I wish I'd done that podcast with you. I was like, I asked you to.
I know. And now I have you on my podcast. I mean, you should have just said, no, I don't do that.
I should have. I should have been like, nope, I don't do podcasts. But the truth is, I like to do them. So I'm only hurting myself. I actually, when I had to interview people every week, I would get very anxious. I was like, oh, I got to come up with something to say every time. It was a lot. And being on the other end, being the guest, I'm like, fuck, I don't have to come up with anything to say. If there's dead air, that's all on you. That's your problem.
You are making me sweat a lot right now.
There is no pressure at all right now. All I have to do is just exist and hope for the best.
I resisted the idea of doing a podcast for the longest time. I just have a lot of like, I don't want to talk to anyone, not even like face to face. Like, don't talk to me. I'll go lock myself away. And
Right.
I finally gave in to a different podcast a while after I declined Books and Booze, and to get on it to like look up the middle of I got just completely shit faced like at 10 a.m. one day, and I did it, and then I realized, oh, okay, this wasn't so bad.
It is nerve-wracking to get in there and do the thing no matter what. I'll admit, maybe I have a glass of wine right now, and maybe it's like not even 1 o'clock.
It's almost one. Do you think Amelia would get drunk as she would drive planes, fly planes? I don't know. I guess you drive planes.
Sure, same difference. Probably, absolutely. No, I don't think she would. Amelia Earhart just probably did everything right all the time. Oh no, that was the thing though. Her navigator, Fred Noonan, he was a drunk. He was a renowned drunk. And so a lot of people think that was the thing that caused their downfall, because he was the navigator. He was a drunk, and he was and they were lost at sea together. So, you know.
That is hilarious. It's just imagining that scene. Like if this was indeed the pilot of the pilot show. I mean, just him being completely drunk, looking at the map upside down. That is so good.
It is good. Okay, this is a story nobody's going to care about, but it's fun. So I have a great uncle named Kenny, and he was a pilot in the military, I guess, whatever. And apparently there are air maps, and that's how you navigate. And he didn't understand how to read them. And so he got lost. This was all in the United States. This is all, he's not at war. He gets lost, so he starts following the roads, touches down behind, this is in a helicopter as well, sorry. Touches down behind a gas station, buys an atlas, a road atlas, and then uses that to find his way back to where he was supposed to go.
That sounds like if someone listening knew a lot about flying, they would be laughing a lot. But like me, I'm like, well, that seems logical.
It does seem logical. Kenny was a renowned fuck up, though. He's not listening to this. It's fine.
Now, when you said great uncle, do you mean like he was a pretty good uncle, or like an actual great uncle?
He was my grandfather's brother.
Oh, okay.
Or I'm pretty sure he's still with us out there somewhere.
Is he still flying Lost?
No.
Yeah. Did
Yeah.
you pull a Amelia on us?
Amelia. He's out there in the world, doesn't know what to do. He also shot himself in the foot once playing quick draw in front of the mirror. So
That's awesome. Okay, we have to stop and talk about this. Did he admit to everybody that's what happened, or was he trying to be sly about it? But then the truth came out. What happened?
no, he admitted it. So he called. Let's see, how did this happen? He called at the time my great grandmother, who was living close to him. He shot himself in the foot alone, and he calls her and he's like, "Help! You got to take me to the hospital." And she's like, "Why?" And he said, "I shot myself in the foot playing quick draw in front of the mirror." And she said, "Kenny, stop being stupid." And she hung up on him because she assumed this was a joke. And then he called back. And so she ended up driving him to the hospital for that. But yeah, no shame. He immediately was like, "No, this is what has happened to me."
This is the exact reason I refuse to get a gun. I know this would happen to me. I am extremely clumsy. Like, for an example, a while back I was chopping down this old bush in front of the house with a pickaxe, and I finished it. It's like, job well done. And then my wife was driving down the street into the house, like pulling into the driveway because she went to go get something. And I thought, I'm going to pose to look like impressed. So I put my leg up on the stump to like pose, and then not paying attention, I just swung the axe down, and then I chopped it into my kneecap, and I had to go to the hospital.
Oh my god.
So yeah, I don't think I could ever be trusted with a gun. A plane, because I also get lost really easily, and I think if I was a pilot, that just would not go well.
You don't get to have one, you don't get to make fun of my Uncle Kenny, but two, you just get to have any sort of weapons or sharp objects. Someone should be cutting your steaks for you. That's amazing. Like, I'm pretty clumsy too, but I've never needed a hospital visit for it. So I'm going to count myself lucky.
Every time I've had stitches, which is a lot, it's always because of clumsiness. Like, I used to look at this place that stocked like all types of stupid shit, like those big knights and shiny animal statues. And one night I was like cleaning up and zoning the aisles, and I went to move one of those statues, and the shield just slashed my wrist open, and I just began gushing blood. And they had to rush me to the hospital, and they were so mad at me because I it would have to go up on the locals comp stuff, and then the next like month I had to do cashier duty because I couldn't lift anything because I sliced my wrist open.
That's crazy. Wow. I've got nothing for that. I have nothing to compete with your level of crazy. I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't mean crazy. I meant clumsy. I genuinely did mean that. That was perhaps Freudian. I don't know. Oops.
Maybe. I love that. I'm still thinking about drunk. What was his name? Tom Noonan? No, it's not Tom.
Fred.
That's an actor. Okay, Tom Noonan was the guy who I think was in like the Shining miniseries. Anyway,
Oh, yeah.
you wrote this book. It's called Antioch. Those will two facts I just said. I am a great host. But I know you were inspired to write this book originally because you were also obsessed with Amelia and what happened to her. How did this happen with you? How did you get obsessed with this?
Oh, gosh. I used to have a job where I didn't have to pay very close attention to anything I was doing. I don't work there anymore. But so I just had some time on the internet, and some kind of thing pops up for me, and it's like, hey, Amelia Earhart, maybe we know what happened to her, that kind of thing. Now, when I was in elementary school, I learned about Amelia Earhart, and I found it fascinating. And I did hope that there was going to be some way for me personally, to find out what happened, because I can't handle a mystery and not being able to find out the answer. But so with Amelia Earhart, the thing that had popped up was all the stuff, and it's a lot in the book. I say a lot, but a lot, I guess, about a little girl who was listening to her transistor radio and thought she heard what could be the last transmissions from Amelia Earhart, saying basically help, SOS type transmissions. And I thought that was the most interesting thing in the whole world. So I went down, I guess, the rabbit hole on that and started really digging into that, trying to find more sources on it, trying to find what I could. And then from there, I found out there were tons of theories about what could have happened to her. My favorite one, outside of, now I believe that girl did hear her transmissions. That's the one I believe. That's the one that I'm laying down for, this is what happened. But the one that I like the best is that she was a spy, but she did come back. She was repatriated or whatever the fuck they call that. And they gave her a new identity and as a bank teller in New York. And her name was Irene Birnbaum or something. I'm probably saying the wrong name. I think it was Irene, who was a real person and who was not Amelia Earhart. But people were like, you are Amelia Earhart in disguise, living a life. That's my favorite one.
Do you know how they settled on this woman specifically? Does she just have a passing resemblance? Does she always talk about flying planes over the Pacific? Maybe.
She, as a bank teller, when she would count out the money, she would say, 1 dead pilot, 2 dead pilots. No, I don't know. I really don't. And I think it was a resemblance thing. I think they thought that she looked like her. Who knows?
If you could be accused of being missing public person, who would you want to be accused of being?
Oh, damn it. I can't think of anything that's not horrible. Jean-Benet Ramsey, but that was Katy Perry, right? that's a conspiracy theory that people think that Katy Perry is JonBenet Ramsey.
I did not know about that, but yeah,
I
that
was,
checks out.
yeah, yeah, it's a whole thing. I think I found that one the same day I found out that Justin Bieber is a lizard person.
Is this all going into Antioch 2?
Antioch 2, The Reckoning.
I, if I don't see how that book could have a sequel.
I'm glad you said that because a lot of people have asked me when I'm writing the next Antioch book, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm not, guys.
I mean, I think it's pretty clear Little's not gonna. I mean, I don't know how much we should say, but yeah, I mean, it's pretty much a standalone book.
Anyone who's listening to this hoping that I'm gonna give away like, oh, when's the sequel? There's not a sequel, my friends, and I'm very sorry if you thought there was, but there is not. Yeah, that is the end of that story.
Do you have like those antique radios at all? Like, have you fucked around with them?
I have not.
Excellent.
All of the, yeah, end of discussion. Any thing about radios in the book is completely researched, made up, whatever. Don't know anything about them.
Well, it all seems like you know a lot about radios, so good job. I never like read it and thought Jessica is a fucking idiot when it comes to radios.
I know, right? Well, yeah, I did try really hard. I thought this is the one thing that I feel like would really call me out on if it was absolutely wrong.
Yeah, like when I think about this book, there seems to be like two big topics that I'll really research, and that's the radio stuff and also Amelia, but also all the religious stuff that's going on in Antioch and like the background that she researches. I am not religious at all, so I do not know if all of this is based on real stuff that you researched or if you made it up. I mean, I just went along with it because it seemed right.
That is all, it's definitely all real stuff. Some I knew and some I researched. Finding a saint to go along with what I wanted took some research. But there's a saint for literally everything. If you are like, it would be very fun to include a saint in my book for any reason, trust me, there is one for you out there. Everything has a saint. I could have been Saint George because he is the person he's a saint because he cleared all the dragons out of Europe, I think. Like, I think he killed all the dragons. But that wasn't as fun, so it's not Saint George.
How does somebody become a saint?
I don't know. It's a Catholic thing. I'm not Catholic. I'll say that. So saints are not like, my religion doesn't make those, or I'm sorry, I'm not any religion right now, but I grew up in the Methodist church, whatever. So I've read the whole Bible. I know all of that kind of stuff. And I know what's in there, and it's weird. Like, there should probably be more fiction based on the Bible because it's got some crazy weird stuff in there.
Yeah, I mean, just from reading like what you put in from in Antioch, I mean, it's really strange to like just get a glimpse into some of it.
Yeah, my my grandmother, a lovely little Christian lady, she read the Bible all the time, and she would tell me, like, you don't need to watch soap operas or anything. You can just read the Old Testament because it is basically a giant soap opera just in weird language. And it's true. There's sex and violence all over the place in the Old Testament. It's quite a story.
They should just put that tagline on the front of the book: "Sex and Violence, the Bible."
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be inaccurate.
Going back to Amelia, now you talked about the idea that she was a spy who went back to the U.S. to count money, which I now think, I hope, is the actual truth, because that's, I don't know, it's kind of sad. Imagine doing that. Like, I flew across the globe, but now I have to go look at a bank.
Yeah, I've been a bank teller, and it is not a glamorous job, so I would not.
Ever witness a bank robbery?
No, luckily. I did have to do a lot of training for that. Like, they teach you how to be a criminal so that you can spot criminals. It's a very weird thing. Like, did you know that if you take acetone, like fingernail polish remover, and like put it on cotton ball, whatever, dab it on a check where the writing is, where they've written it out to the water company, it'll remove the ink. And then you can write your own name in that spot.
I think I did know that.
Ah, well, I learned that at the bank.
I think I only knew that because I watch a lot of crime movies, maybe, and that just seems like some info that's been passed in one of them.
Yeah, they because then it also makes the paper a little bit rough. So when we get a check, we're supposed to touch it to see if it feels like it's been tampered with.
Yeah, now if like what do they teach you to do if someone did come in like demanding money? Like do they have like a glass of bleach you're supposed to throw in lies when they pull out the gun? Like what do you do?
I very much wish there was. Now you hit a button and hope that the cops show up, I guess. You give them everything. There is something in every drawer called bait money, and when you pull, it's like a stack of bills where all the serial numbers are recorded, and you pull that out first. When you pull that out, it sets off the silent alarm, and you give that to them, so it's traceable money, and the police have been notified. But other than that, you're just supposed to give them everything that you've got. No.
Last question about bank stuff. Tell me about those die packs. Do they still exist? How do those operate?
That was never a thing for me at the bank. I did work at a very small, locally owned bank. There were only 2 branches in the whole world. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it. But in my banking experience, we did not have die packs. So I don't know anything about them.
Damn. Like, yeah. At least, like, in movies, it always seems like they keep it inside the cash register to, like, mix in with the rest of the cash. But I've always wondered, like, if anyone's ever, like, accidentally gave it to just a customer.
Well, it seems dangerous because the number of times I accidentally set off the alarm with that bait money is 3. It was 3 times. And I only worked there for 3 years. So, once a year, on average, I'm setting off the alarm and the cops are coming to the bank. So I can't imagine how many times I would accidentally blow up dye all over everything.
That would be amazing. And also probably make you lose your job. I don't know.
Yeah, likely, yeah. And if I was as clumsy as Max Booth, I would probably do it even more often.
Yeah, like every day it would just be happening. Were you ever tempted to like rob the bank? Like, we could do a heist. I'm an employee. It's an inside job. It could happen.
No. One, I'm a very rule-abiding person. I don't know why, but like I follow rules. And 2, they tell you on day 1, if you steal $10 or you steal $10,000, you get the same amount of jail time. So if you steal, you better make sure the amount is worth it. And the amount they kept in the safe was never worth it.
Oh. They tell you on day 1, don't rob us.
Yeah. That's the training manual. Please do not rob the fucking bank. So no. I was not tempted in any way. I was young and I was poor and I knew that they would nail me to the wall immediately.
Yeah, I can never rob a bank because I just could not. I'm slow and clumsy. It would not happen, but I often get really excited just fantasizing about it. I think maybe many people do have that fantasy. I don't know.
Yeah, probably. I think I wouldn't want to be rude to the workers there, so that's also a thing. Like I have so much sympathy for, it's kind of a white collar job, but kind of not. They are still just people working probably minimum wage if they're a teller. So that sucks. I hate to inconvenience them in their day. Now the money itself, yeah, that's fucking federally insured. Take that shit. So if it's like a nighttime heist, yeah, like if you're just busting in the middle of the night to rob the bank, absolutely. But I don't want to come in and like bother anybody with a gun in the middle of the day. It's gonna mess up their whole day.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. Don't mess up anyone's day. Like,
yeah. If you're gonna do a crime, try not to bother people who are just, living their lives.
One of the conspiracy theories. I don't even know if it's a conspiracy, really. But ideas about what happened to Amelia was, well, obviously, there's a possibility she just crashed in the ocean and drowned. And
Yeah.
also, maybe they landed on some island and just died because no one found them.
Yeah, and that is probably the most likely, is that she tried to land on an island, nobody could find them, they didn't have any supplies, they're in the middle of the ocean, and they died of, exposure or whatever. The fun thing about that idea is that there are giant coconut crabs on those islands, that so they're like, well, why wouldn't they find their remains? Because there's giant coconut crabs that fucking ate their bones, guys. Like, that is the weird thing. Like, huge. Google that. If nothing else, Google those crabs. It
I
is
am,
fun.
because I don't know what a coconut crab is.
Well, it's a big crab, and it is going to make sure that your body is not found.
What the fuck? I'm looking at photos right now. I'm seeing a photo of a coconut crab on the side of a trash can, and I remember when this photo went viral, like fucking 10, 15 years ago. I thought it was a giant spider, but no, I guess it's a coconut crab.
Yeah. Yeah, they do look kind of like, you would think it was a spider, but yeah, that, if you're wondering if you're stranded on a desert island, are people going to find your remains? They are not. Watch out.
The thing I was reading, I didn't finish it today, was on the whole, like, did they land on an island? I forget the specific island they thought it might have been, but, like, I guess recently, within the last decade, someone discovered, like, bones next to an old, like, what it was obviously a campfire, and they think, oh, well, maybe this was Amelia. And they found two pairs of shoes as well. One was a man's shoes and one was a woman's shoes. So, fuck. I don't know.
That's pretty cool. While I was writing Antioch and pitching, the whole thing up until it gets published, I hoped every single day that they would not find Amelia Earhart, because if they did, really tanks my premiere, because a lot of that plot line is based around the idea of her, no one knowing what happened to her. And I was like, oh no, if this is the article that discovers that they found her, my whole book is out the window. We're going to have to scrap the entire thing. But luckily, lucky for me, we still don't know what happened to this poor woman. And I guess also her lesser known navigator, Fred.
No one talks about Fred, old drunk Fred.
They don't, and that kind of is tragic. Poor Fred. He also was lost at sea out there somewhere, and nobody's all that concerned about him. But I'm sure his was.
If this was this TV show we talked about, and they do land on this island, I imagine there's like some sitcom hijinks they get up to on this island, just constantly fighting about like who's cleaning. I guess not the dishes, but the crabs. I don't know.
Who's gonna clean the crabs today? Well, Fred's going through some severe withdrawals because of the alcohol problems. So who knows what those hijinks are like. He's trying to build a still with coconuts and coconut crabs, and
I love the idea of every episode being like this whimsical like sitcom, but every episode ends with them dying horrifically.
oh yeah, they're dead. There's no scenario out there where she's not dead. Another one of the conspiracy theories about that is that she was captured by the Japanese, because that she was a World War II spy is the thing, and that's not proven at all. But I guess if you're a spy, it's not supposed to be proven. But that she was captured by the Japanese and just executed there. And for a while, it was floating around that, oh, we think we found pictures of her in a camp, and then they were like, no, that's definitely not her. It doesn't look anything like Amelia Earhart.
That is obviously a coconut crab.
Yeah. This is 3 coconut crabs in a pilot suit. Definitely not her. You can tell it's a pilot suit because it's not wearing pants.
I hope somebody listening draws us a photo of 3 coconut crabs in a pilot suit, because I desperately want to see that.
Yes. Please do. We will make you famous with you. We can make people famous, right? We're famous, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're pretty famous, yeah.
We're very, very famous people, and if you send us your drawing of 3 coconut crabs in a pilot suit, we will also make you famous. That's the claim that we're making today.
How much like research do you think you did into this disappearance? Like, did it ever cross your mind? Because this has happened to me sometimes when I fall into something like this, that I might solve this case. I might be the one to figure it out. Did you convince yourself of that?
My God. Not only did I do that much research on this, but I've done that much research on things that I haven't written books about. I have spent time writing, like drawing all of the Zodiac ciphers that out to be like, this is it. This is my moment. I'm gonna solve one. Thank goodness it's gonna be me. I have no idea what's broken in my brain that makes me think that I can do this, but yeah, I do. I will spend some time on Amelia Earhart thinking about, okay, how can I figure this out? And there's no way that I'm figuring it out, but it's very exciting. There's some kind of puzzle thing to that makes you want to, right?
Yeah, I'm the same way. I think maybe a lot of people, are, especially like folks who get really into true crime like shows
Yeah.
and podcasts. I mean, it's exciting to have a mystery that isn't solved because eventually you think it's going to be solved by somebody. It could be you. Why not you?
And that's something in Antioch, my main character Bess, if people would say to me like, why is she getting so involved in this? And I thought, was that not believable? Why would she not get so involved in this? To me, I'm like, I'd
Yeah,
be the most involved in this because there's something happening. Of course she thinks she's going to solve it. Isn't that human nature? Maybe it's not, but maybe it's some people's human nature.
I think so. Like I imagine if like if there was some type of killing spree in my small town, I would be visiting the crime scenes. I would be taking photos. I would be obsessing over like the newspaper or whatever the fucking neighborhood app is called. I don't know. I forget the name, but I would be looking for clues, and I think a lot of people would be. I mean, it's exciting to have something like that going on so close to you with people you might even know and people you could possibly even talk to.
I absolutely would be. I live in a pretty small town myself, and we had kind of a high profile murder here. It was many years ago now, but high profile because it was a rich lady. But it was an old rich lady, and she got murdered, and it was a big deal. Like everybody in town, that's all you could talk about was, well, what happened? What happened? And it was solved. There's nothing still whatever about it. But yeah, there's definitely something happening close to you like that. You want to. It sparks something in you to go out there and look for clues.
Yeah, and you said it was solved, and that makes me like think about how a lot of these cases, like if you think about the ones that have been solved, usually the answer to what happened is not as like exciting. It's always disappointing the fact that it's done with. But when it's open like this, I mean, it could be anything. I think when we investigate something like this and we get obsessed with it, we kind of secretly don't want to know the truth. We just want to keep searching and finding out different ideas.
Yes, very much so. I think that's absolutely the case. You never want it to end. It's like when you're reading a good book, when it ends, no matter how it ends, you're like, oh, I didn't want it to be over yet. So, when you're on the case, when the mystery is happening, when it's all actually happening in real time around you, it's kind of, even if it's satisfying the conclusion, you're like, okay, good, justice is served. It's still, it's sad a little bit.
I think that's why I love the movie Zodiac so much because it doesn't have that ending. It's
Yeah.
still open ended. It's extremely exciting.
It is extremely exciting. I fucking love that movie. Like, I, it is the greatest movie that's almost about nothing. Like, there's not huge exciting, no explosions at all in that movie, but it is fascinating from beginning to end. It could have been 90 hours long. I would watch the whole 90 hours. I love that movie, and there are a lot of references to that in Antioch as well. I'm very obviously a fan. If you are a fan, you're gonna see a few things from Zodiac in there. Well, I think I actually referenced the movie itself at
I
one
think
point.
you did too. Yeah, it sounds
Bring up
familiar.
Jake Gyllenhaal, yeah.
Yeah, there's that scene where Bess is drinking a bunch of aqua velvas, and someone's like, "Oh, it's like that movie Zodiac," and she's like, "Yeah, that movie."
Oh yeah, that movie Zodiac.
Have you had one of those aqua velvas? I made some a few weeks ago.
I have not. What's in it?
I don't know now. Vodka, that stuff that makes liquid blue, and
Blue
I don't know what it's called.
Curacao. I actually have some of that in my fridge right now. So
Yeah,
this.
yeah. If you Google the aqua velva recipe, like I guess there's some book I don't own, but they have this recipe available online. But it's a book of recipes of alcoholic drinks from movies, and I don't know, pretty
That sounds
cool.
amazing.
Yeah, I wish I could remember the title now, but I mean, how many goddamn books would be like that? So I'm sure it's easy to find for anyone listening. Yeah, I that's pretty much I think all I had to say about Zodiac and Amelia. I mean, maybe Amelia is Zodiac. I don't know.
Oh shit. That's probably what happened. She came back. She was very unhappy. She's because they made her be a bank teller, which is not prestigious at all. So that caused her to want more attention. Obviously, she was kind of a celebrity before she had her own brand of luggage, I think. Um, so then, yeah, she started committing murders to get that thrill of being in the public eye again.
And not a lot of people know this, but like she wrote a couple books before she vanished, and one of those was a book about cryptic puzzles, like how to crack codes.
Well, there you go. Yeah, absolutely. Amelia Earhart actually had a rich life before she disappeared in the ocean.
One of the books she wrote is a book about flying, but there's this line that a lot of like fanatics obsess over, and it's really random in the book. Like she's mostly talking about like schematics of planes and how to build them, and then randomly she says, "If I ever go to San Francisco, I'm going to kill many people."
Yeah, she like children bouncing off the little buses or whatever. Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember
she
that.
she was obsessed with killing the little kitties. I don't know what that was about, but maybe it's related to the Zodiac, but maybe it's not. I mean, who will we to say? We'll just bringing up ideas. We'll asking questions. We don't have the answers to any of this.
No, we're just presenting facts that we have, and what people want to do with those facts, that's up to them.
But if you happen to be listening to this podcast and you rightfully one of those websites that has fucking dumb headlines, just maybe you want to say Amelia Earhart might be the Zodiac, speculates Ghoulish podcast. Well, I don't know. Clickbait, that's the word.
It's a clickbait.
Yeah.
Not us. We're presenting facts, but them.
Yeah, we're not baiting anything. We're just laying it out in the grass, much how Amelia Earhart laid out those two people in the grass and then stabbed them repeatedly.
Yeah. I mean, allegedly. She
Do you think she's gonna sue us?
Yeah. I think that she is still alive and is going to sue us. And actually, in that way, we will have solved the mystery of Amelia Earhart. So we should continue this. This is amazing. I just figured out how to solve everything. Just make fun of the murderer on a podcast.
Yeah. Job well done, I think. How can folks find you online?
How do people find me online?
Yeah, how do they find how can Amelia find you online if she wants to sue you?
Oh no, I don't know. Facts, I didn't expect this line of questioning. I am on Twitter.
You used to host a podcast, Jessica. You had to know this question was coming.
You would think that, yes, but it was very shocking to me. The question I've hated so much in interviews so far has been, so what do you do? Like, tell us about yourself. And I'm like, oh no, y'all don't want that. I don't know. I don't do anything. Okay, so you can find me on Twitter, and that I'm at JLeonard23, Jessica Leonard on Twitter. That's probably it, guys. I'm not a big person. I'm not a big media.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably wise. Do you know who else didn't do a lot with social media? Amelia Earhart, because she died. So I mean, maybe she's alive. But the Zodiac also doesn't have social media presence, and that can't be a coincidence.
That's true. Some of our most famous people never had a social media account. Elvis didn't, and he's the dead.
And that was Jessica Leonard talking about Amelia Earhart conspiracy theories. Fun conversation, huh? Yeah. The book she wrote, Antioch, also pretty fun. Go pick it up at perpetualpublishing.com or click on the link in the show notes. I will include a link. I will obviously include a link. Why wouldn't I include a link? I want you to buy this book. Go buy Antioch and go leave a review of the podcast on iTunes. The podcast is called Ghoulish. Look at the podcast app. It says the name of it. It says the goddamn name. What else? Patreon.com/PMM Publishing.
Live spooky, die spooky.